You are now watching Bleav. Do you believe?
And welcome into a brand new episode of the Carolina Panthers podcast here on the Bleav Podcast Network, Bleav in Carolina Panthers. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, joined by Panthers great Jonathan Stewart and from Sports Illustrated, Schuyler Callihan. You can catch us not once, but twice a week now that the season is ongoing. Every Monday and Thursday. Monday, we'll react to the Panthers' previous game. Thursday, we'll give you a preview of the Panthers' upcoming game, plus give you news and notes from around the league and what's going on over in Charlotte throughout the course of the week. Guys, we had week one. We talked about it for months. It's finally come and gone. Carolina Panthers start off 0-1 with a 26-24 thriller against the Cleveland Browns that came down to if you ask the Panthers, controversial last stand there by the Cleveland Browns with a minute to go there. We'll get into that here in just a sec. Before we do all that, and we'll go around the league as well, a bunch of different storylines that came out of yesterday's games. Before we do that, though, a quick word from our buddies over at Bet Online. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, and events with first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head over to BetOnline today to use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BLEAV50, that's BLEAV50, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts and where our podcast starts today. Guys, let's just open it up for discussion here. Overreaction Monday we'll get to for around the league in just a bit, but first thoughts on this 26-24 loss for the Panthers to the Cleveland Browns. Stu, I'm just going to start with you, man. What are your thoughts coming away from this this contest?
We better figure out how to stop the run and stop it quick.
Yes. Now, do you think that's because it was Cleveland? Because Cleveland was the top rushing team in the league last year. Do you think that was more them, or do you think it's a serious problem with us?
I think we had problems last year, and I think we didn't address accordingly. I don't care who you are. Yesterday I was at the game, and I legit saw every run play just open like an open book, like water coming out of a can or a bottle. That's exactly how the running lanes were for the Cleveland Browns. And yeah, we had some stops here and there, chess match or whatever, but whenever they really wanted to run their go-to plays, they were able to run those.
Yeah, that's a good point. That it felt like the battle up front, the offensive line from Cleveland, they kind of dictated this game. It felt like they were kind of bullying around the defensive line for the Panthers. And another thing, too, I noticed, talking about the run game, how many times did we see dudes bounce off of Nick Chubb, like, all day? It felt like the first guy that arrived there was not going to tackle him. Like, I started thinking that third quarter, like, whoever gets there first, he better hold on for a couple other people to get there because he's just running through.
And there's like a give and take there, right? Yeah, everyone's a pro out there. And you expect, hey, you're getting paid to tackle Nick Chubb today. We know Nick Chubb is Nick Chubb, one of the best runners to put on the uniform at this point that we've all seen. So, but that's a challenge that you have to, take upon yourself and take pride in. You're a grown man, and you playing linebacker. You need to come up there with your hat and lay it on.
Chubb finished 22 carries, 141 yards on the day. The Browns actually rushed for 217 yards on 39 attempts. Good Lord, they 5.6 yards a carry yesterday. So that kind of tells the story right there. It just felt like they controlled it. But having said all that, it's amazing. Well, maybe not amazing, but the Panthers weren't. It didn't feel like they were completely out of it. Although it did feel like the Browns should have put 30 points on the board going into halftime. Schuyler,
they were 1 for 4, as far as the red zone goes. The defense did get stout when they got closer to the red zone. And that's something that you can hang your head on and go to sleep at night.
Yeah, because it could have been a lot worse than what it was. And it did set up that fourth quarter where it's like the offense – I got bone to pick with Ben McAdoo, but we'll get to me in a second. Schuyler, what was your initial reaction on this week 1 contest, Browns and Panthers?
You know, it was a mixed bag, just kind of like the game, really. I mean, defensively, like Stu hit it on right on it. I mean, the way that defense played really throughout much of the game was just almost uninspiring. And you knew going into this game, right? Like that was the way they were going to win this game. Is they were going to run the ball, and Jacoby Brissett just couldn't lose in the game. Couldn't make bad decisions. Couldn't throw into tight windows, force things, and he did exactly what he was supposed to do. And Phil Snow talked about it all week last week leading up to it. To tackle Nick Chubb, you have to tackle him in numbers. You can't tackle him one-on-one in space. You can't arm tackle him. There is a certain way you got to tackle Nick Chubb, and that's gang tackling. They didn't do much of that. And I don't know what the yards were after contact. I don't have it in front of me. I was trying to sift through it here, but it had to have been a ton. Matt Rule said that as a team that they had 17 missed tackles that equated to about 190 yards. That's
the whole game right there.
17 missed tackles. And I believe it was one of my keys of the game last week was tackling, because we all know tackling is kind of a rough spot usually his first couple of games. But that's a whole nother level. I did not expect that bad of a defensive performance. But I will say this. Everybody's already out there talking about Matt Rule needs to be fired and all this other crap. We went through this almost every week last week after the
really did.
On the show. So, Stu, you're going to get a good taste of that. But but I will say this. The way they started shouldn't indicate how this team's going to play the rest of the year, because I think what we saw in that second half is probably closer to what we'll see. And it might be a little bit of both. But the way that they fought back from down 2 scores late in the game, that's got to give you some hope, right? I mean, the defense started playing well. The offense clicked. And it's going to take time. You know, Baker's only been in this program for 2 months now. They're going to take some time before you really start to see that offense clicking. I think they're okay. Now, if they don't go to New York and get things figured out, it's going to get very, very interesting, because of that schedule that's after that. It's going to get really, really tough. You got the Bucs, the Rams, the Niners, the Cardinals. So the Saints, I think, is in there as well, week 3. So you got it.
All of that. I mean, it's just so much from my mind. It's crazy because when I woke up this morning, usually the fandom in me, when I wake up on a losing Monday for the Panthers, I kind of got like a funk going on. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't want to be around people. I didn't really wake up that way this morning, and I didn't feel that way after the game was over yesterday.
Are you not to it maybe, or
I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Just, and when it's a Panther victory Monday, it's like a whole vibe. Like, you going to work, you go to wherever, you seeing people on the street wearing the shirts, you know, give them
high five and hey.
Yeah, we haven't had one of those victory Mondays in like 10 straight weeks or something like that of playing. Like Rule's lost like the past 10 games that he's coached. I have a bone to pick with offensive coordinator Ben McAdoo. I was actually
Tell us why.
Why in the world did y'all bubble wrap Christian McCaffrey for the whole preseason and then get to week 1 and forget he's on the team? Like, they didn't even try to run the football in the first half. And like, I don't understand it if they were down like multiple scores or something like that. They were kind of 6 points, 13 points behind the whole game. It was never a situation where they felt like they were so far behind they had to throw it. It kind of felt like Ben McAdoo was trying to show off Baker Mayfield against his former team, when in actuality, your 2 best players are Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore, and you ignored them both for an entire half and spotted Cleveland points. It didn't make any sense. It's like they changed it around in the second half. Kudos to them for recognizing that, because previously, like the first year of Matt Rule being here, they wouldn't really make those adjustments. They would just keep banking their head against the wall with whatever they had planned for the beginning of the game. And they did start to go more vertical down the field and let Baker loose a little bit with his arm. And, lo and behold, hey, Christian McCaffrey's back here. Let's start handing the ball to him and see what happens. Like, every time the dude touched the ball, it felt like something good happened. Yeah. Give him the floor. You just paid him a bag. What are you doing? Like, who are you saving him for? Like,
Rule did say something about, like, the reason why he didn't have very many touches in the first half was a lot because they're playing behind the chains, which is true. But I want to go back and see how many of those were first down runs, because I don't think that they had more than 2 at most.
And I'm not going to buy that. I'm not going to buy that excuse from Matt Rule, because in that game they ran Christian McCaffrey in the second half on a 3rd and 8, and he picked it up. Yeah. So that don't make any sense, Matt Rule. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're willing to do that there when you're behind the most you've been in this game, but you didn't want to do it in the first half when it was still 7-0.
What's your thoughts, Desmond, on the play calling towards the end of the game when we settled for that field goal? Because we definitely got down there in the red zone and we went fumble exchange on the center quarterback exchange, which that's something to talk about. We can't have those.
There was like 4 of those, yeah.
And that's understood. Like, we only have to talk about it. So, but like, second down, third down, Christian McCaffrey up the gut. You're in the red zone. This is an opportunity. To me, if I'm an offensive coordinator, this is what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, run the basics, keep the the formalities going through your players, get the confidence going, Baker. But when the game is on the line, you got to answer the bell. And so I feel like that was a missed opportunity that no one's going to talk about as far as losing this game. We really should have attacked at that moment.
Yeah, I would agree. It felt like they were on one
playing
hand
that to win. They were playing that to lose.
Not to lose. Yeah, I on one hand I understand it, because if you go up 1 in the NFL with a minute left, in theory you should probably win that game. But then a series of comedic mishaps happened right after that, where I was talking to a friend of mine on Facebook last night, and he was like, well, they lost because they gave up 200 yards and blah, 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 rushing and all this other stuff. I'm like, actually, technically, they overcame all that. So you can't really say that they lost because of that. What happened in the last minute of the game is what lost the game for the Panthers. They go up 1. Mm-hmm. What happens next? The kicker kicks the ball out of bounds on the kickoff. So you're putting the Browns on the 40-yard line to begin with. So they only need really 40 yards to get in field goal range. The roughing the passer penalty on Brian Burns, which, I mean, it's getting to the point where you can't even breathe on these quarterbacks anymore. It didn't even look like you really hit him.
The tackle got beat so bad that his booty
pushed into him. Like,
his booty bumped into his quarterback and messed them all up.
Called a roughing the passer. So that gives them another 15 yards. So you're already snipped. So at that point, Jacoby Brissett just basically needs to drive them 25 yards to get them near where they need to be, which they did. And then the fake spike thing that happened there.
Jacoby Brissett was about to throw a smoke route, by the way. I just want you to know. That's what it looked like. He came out there and he's about to do a football. He had a little football move and then decided to, let me just.
And that's illegal. Illegal, Jacoby Brissett. And the refs knew it. They all threw the flag. Yeah. And then they all talked about it. It's like, let's just.
I like the Browns. You like the Browns? You like the Browns? I like the Browns too. Yeah, I'm a Chubb fan.
You check clear? It's good. Let's go. So, I mean, all that led to that field goal. And even with that, it took a 58-yard field goal to win it. And like, I want people at home to understand, a 58-yard field goal is very hard. It's a very hard kick. And to do that, and he was a rookie at that. I mean, it's the first legitimate kick he's probably had in his career. So I couldn't be, when the game was over, I couldn't be too mad about all that, because some of that it did. I'm not the type of person that'll come on here and blame refs on a game, regardless of the sport. I try not to be that person. But yesterday, it was really hard. Like, it felt like they determined the game on that last drive, where if they just called the fake spike or whatever, it's a 10-second runoff. It would have left them with a couple seconds, and they would have been pushed back, and they wouldn't have been in field goal range. So, I mean, that kind of – I understand why the players and Matt Rule are upset about that no call, or, well, the call, and then they pick the flag back up.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this. That third down play, the RPO, is that too conservative of a play? Because, I mean, I guess in a certain mindset, I understand having the option to run, because you don't want an opportunity for a sack and then have your brand new kicker kicking from even further back. But at the same time, do you just roll the dice and take that chance? Because to me, I think you take the RPO element out of it and you go 5 wide and try and spread the field. I mean, am I wrong there, or do you think the RPO is a smart play?
I think you definitely spread the field. It's right now we have to figure out our identity. What type of team are you going to be? Right? We don't know that. We haven't known that for some time now.
That's the frustrating thing. Because Rule said what he wants it to be. He wants to be a run-first team, but I never see them running first.
Right. But it can be the element of run, pass, whatever you're going to do, you're going to be either passive or you're going to attack. You know what I'm saying? Are you going to wait till you're down to score, or are you just going to go out there and just do your thing? Like, hey, this is what our game plan this week is, Christian, get ready to tote the rock. Okay? We're going to need you to tote the rock this week. So you go into that game, you tote the rock. Hey, Christian, this week you're going to be splitting some time. You and the backups, y'all be ready. Running back by committee. We're going to put you in a slot and do some tricky things this week. Like just have some type of plan, because it just looks like they didn't have a plan in place, or at least follow the plan. Or maybe they had a plan, but the execution, the lack thereof of certain elements of their plan kind of threw them off their rails of whatever it is that they wanted to do.
I almost hope they didn't have a plan, because if they had a plan and that plan was to attack the Cleveland secondary, that probably wasn't going to work, because the Cleveland secondary is one of the top secondaries in the league too. So, I mean, I just didn't understand the whole, we've been doing all this to make sure we can have Christian McCaffrey week 1 and then just ignoring him. Like, they just didn't try to get, there was nothing planned to put your best player in position to help you win until you needed him in the second half. And even then it was like the play where Baker muffed the snap and Christian picked it up off the ground, took off running. That was actually kind of hot. I was like, hey, y'all need to design that play again or something, because
that changed the whole tempo of the game right there.
It did. Between
let's get up and go.
There he is.
Get up to the line. Get up to the line.
Christian McCaffrey was out there. There he is right there. But like every time he would flash, you were like, that's why I like Christian McCaffrey. That's why I love the dude, because of this kind of stuff. I would imagine this is getting talked about in the locker room in Carolina. Hey, we got to start using CMC. We got him here. Like, let's do this. I saw this online. The Panthers' next 8 opponents and their rushing totals from this past Sunday. Yep. So at New York Giants, they rushed for 280 yards.
How much?
238. The return of Saquon Barkley. Like, my man is back. So we got him next week. After that, I think this is looks like it's the Saints. 151 yards they rushed for. Arizona rushed for 103. San Francisco rushed for 176. The Rams rushed for 52, but they were playing the Bills, so that tells you there. They were the #1 defense in the league last year. Tampa Bay rushed for 155 yards in the fourth quarter. Against Dallas. And then at Atlanta, they rushed for 207. And Cincinnati 133. So,
you know what that tells me? Like,
a lot of people missing a lot of tackles out
there.
Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good backs in this stretch. You're going to face Barkley, Kamara. I mean, a ton of guys. Don't get me wrong.
Debo.
That's a lot of bad defense. And I watched some of those games yesterday. Dallas, that game was like the fourth quarter. Like you said, I knew it had to have been over 100, because it just seemed like they were gashing them left and right. The Tennessee defense, Jeffrey Simmons is an absolute stud. I don't know if you guys have watched him much, but he's an absolute freak up front. Outside of that, Tennessee has nobody. We're overplaying everything, taking bad angles, bad gap discipline. Like, it was just a mess. So, like, I don't know if I would be freaking out, but from what I saw from Carolina, which is really what matters, that's the part that makes you a little concerned. Because there was just a whole bunch of missed tackles.
Wrap up.
Yeah, time of possession is a huge factor when you're playing a team that likes to run the ball. If you have more time with the ball against a running team, you're going to win. Mm-hmm. So they kicked our butts in that department. So
what do they have, like 50 plays?
I'm looking at it now. We only had 50 plays. Cleveland had 74.
That's a problem.
They averaged,
and what that says to me about our fourth quarter play and how we were able to take advantage of blown coverages and whatnot. What that says to me though is we were supposed to win that game on paper.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think this to win it
just
on paper.
Didn't.
And that's the story of the Matt Rule Carolina Panthers for the past 3 years. How many games have we talked about, Schuyler, over the past year or two where they should have won it but something happened at the end and they just didn't win it. And we've been waiting for this team to kind of get over that hurdle of winning close games. And I thought yesterday, okay, they finally figured this out. That's why I wasn't too mad when I saw what they were doing, running the football, keeping the clock running. They were trying to get the clock down so that they wouldn't have enough time to really get down there. That kick out of bounds really messed up everything. When the kicker kicked the ball out of bounds and they started on the 40 instead of the 20, that kind of probably changed defensively what they were going to do. And then I'm just sitting there looking at these stats. We actually, well, they didn't really try, but passing wise, they only passed for 138 yards, like less than 4 yards an attempt.
He managed the game really well. I mean,
but they didn't need it. That's the problem. They didn't need it because they rushed for 217 yards on 39 attempts. Like they can't, when you see a team with 39 rushing attempts in today's NFL, that's a team that came in there knowing who they are. To Stu's point, they knew they were going to run this ball. They were going to protect Jacoby Brissett. We should have been doing the same thing for Baker, but it felt like they were trying to show Baker off.
Showcase, yeah.
And it just, they were just in and out, in and out, in and out. Plus, it's 80-something degrees on the field. You got your defense out there with the sun right above them. You could tell the defense was getting tired and getting hot while they were out there trying to deal with Shackle and Nick Chubb. I mean, like over and over. And then you throw in Kareem Hunt. It just, there's things I saw. I'm like, okay, things can be fixed. The pass interference on who was it, CJ Henderson, where he basically tackled the dude around the neck in the end zone.
Oh man, panicked. My man.
Yeah,
panicked.
like he literally, all he had to do was turn around. Like literally, all he had to do was turn around, and the ball was going to hit him. But by tackling him
and just trust your safety help over the top that he'll be there too. Sometimes,
stuff like that led to a touchdown. So I mean, that's stuff that can easily be corrected. So I left the game not really feeling like, oh man, this is a hot mess. Like 2 years ago, whenever we lose something like this, I'm like, I don't know what they can do to fix this, but. I didn't feel like that leaving the game yesterday.
But I think it's because we saw adjustments being made and them executing. We saw execution yesterday in parts of the game. And that's, at the end of the day, first game down in the books, we can take that. I'm going to take that, and I'm going to lean on it. And I'm going to hope that this week they go to the drawing board and just work out the kinks and just get comfortable in the things that they want to do this week and go do it.
I think you can make the argument, had the game been flipped and they came out to a hot start and then fizzled out, I think a lot of people would be concerned right now. But I think they figured it out as the game went on is kind of encouraging.
That's what happened last year. That's usually what would happen last year. They would get on somebody early, and then they wouldn't make adjustments when the other team did coming out of halftime, and they would lose a game at the end. Like you rarely see blowouts in the NFL.
Because how many times last year did we talk about a scoreless third quarter?
Yeah, where they just did nothing in the third quarter and let the other team back in. So unless you're playing the Chiefs, you're probably not going to experience a blowout this year because I don't know what I don't know what you can do to stop the Chiefs right now. If they're going to play like that all year,
the Chiefs look like they out there playing backyard football.
Yeah, it's almost like
and you do this,
like it's worse.
And you do this, and then tight end, you go up the middle, and then you do a jumping jack, and then that's when I'll know I'll throw it to you.
I fear that the worst thing that could happen was Tyreek Hill leaving because I feel like he was a crutch for Pat Mahomes, and now he's gone.
Probably in the meeting room. Throw it to me. Why didn't you throw it to me right there? I want the ball. Give me the ball.
Have you ever seen the movie Little Giants where the kid's just like, all right, I got to play. He's like, everybody just running circles. And I tells them that those guys do because it doesn't matter what route they run. They're going to go off script. Like,
and they're so good at it. That's a good segue to get to around the league. We'll give a preview of Panthers versus Giants later on this week that you'll be able to catch on the Bleav Podcast Network. Real quick before we get out of here, though, guys, give me the one thing that stood out in your mind from the games you saw around the league yesterday in terms of just the first thing besides Panther related that stood out to you yesterday. Stu, you want to go?
Shame on me for talking bad about Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. I know this. I know it's early. I know it's an early reaction and all that, but I apologize. My man is the GOAT for a reason, fella. And it wasn't because I thought he was going to play bad this year. I just didn't know if his team would rally the way they should around him.
We had legit
based off of the turn of events. That's had the news and all that. But my man he's a GOAT, man. And just watching him come out the tunnel, with the all whites on his shoes. Like, he's fresh. So I apologize. Aaron Rodgers, help. He needs help.
Yeah, somebody said help, please.
Help him, please. Aaron Rodgers, if you need me to come help you block, I might be able to help you.
He was getting killed out there yesterday.
You out there getting murdered, boy. I don't know what you got going on, but
he don't have the poker face either. Like, you can see in his face when he's not enjoying himself on a Sunday, and he did not enjoy himself. That one play, the dude was wide open, way down the field, and it was right on his hands, and he drops it. And Aaron Rodgers just gives this look of just utter disgust. And they were dropping it all day. I had Green Bay written down here on my list. Schuyler, give me around the league overreaction Monday. What's something you saw? You're just like, oh.
You guys know who I picked to win the NFC North, right? Remember?
Did you pick Minnesota?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
I'll take it a step further. Minnesota's going to the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
You're on overreaction Monday. I'm going to give it to you.
Kirk Cousins is going to take them to the Super Bowl. Wow.
I mean, listen, I know it's week one, but, man, like, you look around the NFC and outside of the Bucs, like, who is there and what other team are they to be afraid of? They have literally every piece that you could want.
Their offense is stacked. I don't know how they got Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson is just amazing, bro.
Why were they not guarding him? Like, it felt like the Packers were playing zone or something, and they just were like, they were intent on dissing Justin Jefferson. Like, you are not good. We are not going to guard you. And there was times this dude's just running across the field. There's no one within like 10 yards of him, and he's looking around like there's supposed to be somebody on me, and there's nobody here. So,
I saw a thing today that the pick that Minnesota received in the Stephon Diggs trade was the one that they used to select Jefferson. How crazy is that?
Wow.
Both teams.
That worked out for both teams.
Perfectly for that. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, I'm going to say Minnesota, Super Bowl prediction. I think they'll make it. The other thing I want to say is, how in the heck did the San Francisco 49ers lose to the Chicago Bears?
That field was a mess.
I mean, that's a mess. But isn't that their calling cards to run the football? Like, you would think that they would be okay. Like,
sometimes
they did run it. They had 170 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Did they? Okay, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Did they have
the Bears won that game? Yeah, Bears won that game.
Yeah, you were right. 176 yards. So you run for 176 yards and have 10 points. That's a problem.
Yeah, that's a big problem. Two things. I said it a couple minutes ago. Pat Mahomes no longer has a crutch. I'm beginning to think that Tyreek Hill was kind of a way to hinder him in terms of his growth, because whenever he got in trouble, he could just throw it deep and just hope that Hill got underneath it. And so many times Hill would just do that move. He'd go down 50 yards, 60 yards and come back for whatever he just heaved after he ran around in the backfield for 8 seconds. He just throws it down the field. Hill catches it. That's how they won a Super Bowl, like off of that. And with him gone, I think it's forced Mahomes to have an offseason where, keep in mind, no one's had a regular offseason for 2 off seasons. So even Mahomes, we kind of crowned him, but he's still so young. What is he, like 25, 26, something like that? So, I mean, he's still growing. And now with Hill gone, now he really has to go through progressions and really learn this offense. And remember, this is a guy that said that he never really knew how to, run plays or offense or what. He didn't know how to call that kind of stuff or read defenses, his first year in the league. Like, he was basically playing backyard ball, and it showed. He went 30 for 37, I believe, 300-something yards, 5 touchdowns. Kansas City might be playing those Minnesota Vikings in the Super Bowl. Out of all the AFC teams other than Buffalo, I thought Kansas City, that seems like a collision course. It's going to be Kansas City and Buffalo in the end in the AFC. So all this talk about the AFC West being the best division, all that stuff, I don't know if that matters. I think the Chiefs might be a step ahead of the other 3 teams in that league or in that division. Overreaction Monday. And then the Dallas Cowboys are in trouble. Like, they are in serious trouble because they
trouble.
They already took away a bunch of Dak's toys to begin with. So I was already thinking, well, how are they going to score? They were the number 1 scoring offense last year, and they didn't sign Amari Cooper. They lost the left tackle, like all this stuff. You lose Dak Prescott, and Cooper Rush is your backup quarterback. Cam Newton, if you were sitting by your phone right now, I would sit by your phone. If you're not, just sit by the phone for a day or two, because I think Jerry Jones is going to call you and be like, hey, man, look here, I got some money. We got a great facility. That's out for weeks. I got toys for you to play with. I got a running game. I got a line for you. You never had an offensive line before. Come on down here and Dallas. I'm for real. Like, who else is out there for them to sign? Like, they cannot. Cowboy Nation will just destroy itself if they go through 8 weeks of Cooper Rush being the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. It just, something's got to happen. Maybe Jimmy G. Maybe that's an option. They trade for him. I don't know.
Why Rush? Why is Rush not a good option for him?
I just don't. I don't buy that brand. Like, I'm not buying the brand they're going to try to sell me in the next couple weeks.
Jersey, huh? You're not buying
man. I can't rock around the Cooper Rush.
You can rock the Cam Newton jersey though. Cowboys, I'll get you one.
Now watch. I say that and watch Cooper Rush become the hottest thing in professional football over the next 5 weeks. He's going to come out like Kurt Warner style and just obliterate like everybody.
Hey, Jerry Jones, if you out there and you're looking for a quarterback, go ahead and call Cam Newton up.
Just do it. He's waiting on you. He's waiting on you. Go ahead and get him.
He's working out. He always work out. Like, he ready.
He can still run. Yeah, he can still run. You got Zeke looked okay on Sunday night. Zeke
back there. Ooh, that's gonna be fantastic.
Be kind of fun to watch. Yeah. So
he's been waiting for the perfect opportunity. I mean,
we mentioned the Cowboys last year, like Dak's backup. That was one of the places we were like, that would probably be an okay place for him to go, because if Dak gets hurt, you're now the quarterback of America's team. Like, that's a different vibe altogether. And with Cam's personality in Dallas, he'd make, just off endorsements would be enough alone for him to even entertain it.
Texas might have an earthquake.
Man, that would be wild. All of a sudden, Dallas, they're already on TV enough as is, but all of a sudden, God, they're gonna be all over all these primetime games and stuff. And so,
hey, man, we got that Cam Newton guy out here, man. We gotta go watch the Dallas Cowboys.
I can't lie. Well, we don't need Dak anymore. That's what ends up happening. Like, we don't need Dak anymore.
We don't need Dak anymore. We got Cam Newton.
The Cowboys and the Packers are seriously in trouble, because I think a lot of the national media were still picking the Packers to be a Super Bowl contender off of their defense, and Minnesota blew that up yesterday. Like, that defense is not. Well, again, we talked about it earlier. These defenses aren't tackling right. You could tell a lot of these first string guys didn't play in the preseason. That'll probably self-correct itself over the next couple of weeks. Yeah. But that's my first two, is that the Cowboys are in trouble. The Packers are in serious trouble because Aaron Rodgers can't look for a wide receiver anytime soon. He's got what he's got. I think Lazard comes back in the next week or two, but that ain't enough.
Shout out to Trubisky, man.
Steelers,
man.
Yes, sir. Man, that was a wild game.
They didn't want a football game with Trubisky.
Yeah.
See, that's another my bad. Okay. I was talking junk about Trubisky, saying he wasn't gonna win.
Now, granted, they did try to lose the game. They tried to lose it a couple of times.
They tried to, but they didn't lose. Okay.
They didn't lose it.
Mike Tomlin finds a way.
Mike Tomlin has a winning season this year.
He's the GOAT.
We said it. Yeah.
He's the GOAT over my man in New England.
They did they did say TJ Watt out with a pec injury. I didn't catch if he needs surgery or not. So that'd be a huge loss for
out too.
Yeah, so we'll see. But for all the Panther fans out there, as we get out of here, we'll be back next Thursday. Walk away from the ledge. It's okay. It's week 1. We got plenty of positives here that we got to work with. Just calm down. Matt Rule's not going anywhere between now and Sunday, so get off the whole Matt Rule needs to be fired thing.
Yeah, stay off that.
Yeah, we don't need to hear any of that right now.
The cancel culture right now has to be. We have to be focused. Everyone needs to be focused.
Yeah, they were those are the ones that were waiting on something to say about Matt Rule. To be honest, those are the ones that have been wanting to fire him for the past year and a half.
Those are people that need to go get a job.
So we're gonna hop out of here. We'll be back Thursday with a preview. Panthers, Giants, Saquon Barkley coming. Well, us going to go see him. We got another one, but we got to put the work hats on, get the lunch pails, and just get after it. So for Jonathan Stewart, for Schuyler Callihan, I'm Desmond Johnson. You've been listening to the Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast for Monday, September the 12th, 2022. Keep counting.